A typical conversation in my junior high went something like this. Ugh, boys are so stupid. They're all such pigs. There are literally no more good guys out there. Chivalry is totally dead. Sound familiar? Unfortunately, this perspective has become commonplace not only in our junior high schools, but in our society and in the media. Now, I would consider myself a feminist. That is, if you define feminism like Google does, as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. I am all for powerful women who have the power to make their mark on society. But since I met my incredible husband a little over 4 years ago, I've begun to realize that our culture and media have a problem. And in the past, I fell into this problem repeatedly. This problem has slithered and dived so far into our culture under the guise of feminism that we call it humor, woman power, maybe even comeuppance. Its name is misandry. Misandry, or the dislike, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men, should be eradicated from our everyday interactions and be at least recognized in the media we view. I want to tell you what this speech is not. This speech is not advocating for cheating, assault, violence, or oppression toward women. I'm not saying that there isn't still a presence of misogyny in our society and that it isn't a problem. I'm not making an excuse for men who do bad things. My aim is to help you see the reality of a seemingly invisible problem that just breeds more contempt and dissatisfaction, brings more hurt. I want to help you see that there are still good men in this world today and that we should appreciate, not demean, those men. I'll first talk about the history of feminism and how it's starting to turn a little bit more into misandry. And I'll talk about how it shows up in our media and interactions today and what we can do to change things. So first, the history of feminism. Throughout the late 1800s and early 1900s, feminism used to mean women's suffrage, giving women equal power in the family, political, and social spheres. In the mid to late 1900s, feminism began to include burning bras, seeking for equal opportunity in the workplace, and fighting for the right to use birth control. Today, feminism ranges anywhere from being a quiet advocate for women's power and rights, to fighting for a decrease in the wage gap, to radical thoughts of society benefiting if there were fewer men, or thinking of men as the inferior species. Might I suggest that this radical form of feminism may be creeping into our media, as well as into our interactions. I'll give 3 examples of how misandry has begun to show its face. With each example, I will invite you to take a walk in a man's shoes. Practice the golden rule, and we will see how we feel if the sexes were reversed. First, a hot topic among millennials is the concept of ghosting, or pulling the disappearing act to break things off with someone. According to Bustle magazine, data found that women were more than 150% more likely to ghost than men were. However, Bustle magazine, rather than explaining the negative effects of such behavior, went on to explain why women's ghosting is the fault of the patriarchal society, and that women shouldn't have to worry about protecting those fragile masculine egos. Mind you, ghosting is very different than escaping an abusive relationship. Ghosting leaves people confused, insecure, less trusting. It's anxiety-producing for both partners. Now, take a walk in a man's shoes. If this is the case, if the sexes were reversed and men were found to be ghosting women 150% more often, if a magazine were to blame it on women, telling women that it wasn't a man's job but to protect their fragile feminine egos, we would have a major problem. Women and men, treat others, both men and women, the way you want to be treated. My second example comes from the music videos of some of my very favorite songs from growing up. Carrie Underwood's music video for Before He Cheats details a woman getting revenge for her man cheating on her by trashing his car. I used to listen to this song and watch this music video feeling empowered, like what she was doing was completely okay because he cheated on her. Now again, I'm not advocating for cheating, but in the words of a very hilarious song by Studio C, women can get their revenge by committing a violent felony. I'm a girl, it's okay, they say. Other examples of music videos and songs doing similar things include Kelly Clarkson's Since You've Been Gone and Taylor Swift's Picture to Burn. Now, if the sexes were reversed and the women were the ones doing the cheating, because believe it or not, women do cheat as well, and men were doing the violent trashing of the property, we would have a major problem. Women, violent felonies and behaviors seeking to harm another person, man or woman, are not okay. My third example stems from popular TV sitcoms and movies that portray men as bumbling, no good, incapable idiots. One male journalist with Telegraph newspaper explained, "I'm a man, and I'm not an idiot. I'm not daft or bumbling or childlike or sweetly stupid. I don't get outwitted by small children or consumer electronics. People don't roll their eyes or smile indulgently at my attempts to function in normal society. I don't get into scrapes or commit unintentionally hilarious faux pas. And yet, if you were to form your opinion of the male species through the examples presented on TV, you'd think I wasn't a man at all." Close quote. In basically every TV sitcom and in many movies, men are portrayed this way. I don't know about you, but I know quite a few men who don't fit this stereotype. If we were to reverse the sexes and portray women in this quite offensive way, just as some TV shows in the mid-1900s used to do, we would have a major problem. Men and women recognize that men are not bumbling fools, just as our media might suggest. Be fierce advocates for the respect of all individuals, no matter what the current culture leans towards. Misandry, or the dislike, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men, should be eradicated in our everyday interactions and be at least recognized in the media that we view. I urge you to change your behavior, your lingo, and your perspective. Recognize that equality of the sexes doesn't have to include pushing men down. In the world we live in today, it is possible to be a feminist, fight for the equality of the sexes, and still recognize that there are good men who are wonderful, capable, and who deserve respect, just as women do. Thank you.